The sun had barely risen, but I was already awake. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee drifted lazily through the kitchen, mingling with the faint scent of morning dew seeping in from the half-open window. I inhaled deeply, letting the warmth fill my lungs, but it did little to lift the weight that had settled over my heart. Today was my birthday, 55 years old, a milestone, a marker of decades spent nurturing, teaching, and loving my family. And yet, as I glanced at the empty kitchen counter, my stomach tightened. My phone lay there, silent, mocking in its stillness. Not a single message, no happy birthday text, no email, no call. I tried to tell myself it didn't matter, that birthdays were just ordinary days. But deep inside, a tiny voice whispered, "Did they forget?" I dressed carefully, choosing my favorite coral blouse. Its brightness was supposed to uplift me, but even the cheerful color seemed dim under the shadow of doubt. I ran my fingers over the fabric, wishing almost desperately for a reason to smile. My daughter joined us, and soon the grandchildren crowded around. "Grandma, tell us a story," they demanded eagerly, eyes wide and expectant. I smiled, feeling the mixture of warmth and amusement. I decided to share a story from my own childhood, one filled with mischievous antics and moments of laughter. As I spoke, my voice carried through the living room, echoing the joy of generations connected by love. Later, we stepped outside into the cool evening air. The garden was illuminated by small lanterns my children had strung along the pathway. Fireflies danced like tiny stars, and the gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming flowers. My heart swelled as I realized that life's most precious moments were rarely planned. They were felt, experienced, and remembered. A soft voice whispered beside me. "Mom, we wanted you to see that every day matters," my youngest child said, hugging me tightly. I embraced them in return, feeling the truth of their words sink deep into my soul. Life was fleeting, but love, real, profound, unshakable love, was eternal. We returned inside where the cake awaited, candles flickering like tiny beacons of celebration. I closed my eyes and made a silent wish, not for wealth, success, or possessions, but for continued love, laughter, and closeness with the family that had reminded me today that I was never alone. I moved about the house like a ghost, tidying things, arranging flowers in their vases, dusting shelves that probably didn't need dusting. Each movement felt mechanical, as if I were going through the motions to distract myself from the gnawing anxiety inside. The children were supposed to visit today, or so I had thought. My eldest son had been busy with work, my daughter tied up in endless meetings, and my grandchildren, well, they had their own lives too. Life had a way of sweeping them all up into a whirl of responsibilities, leaving me behind in the quiet. I picked up my phone again, staring at it as if sheer willpower could summon a message. Nothing. The empty screen reflected back at me as cold and unforgiving as a winter morning. "Maybe they forgot," I murmured aloud, my voice barely more than a whisper. "Maybe I don't matter anymore." The thought stung worse than I expected. A pang of loneliness pricked at my chest, sharp and unrelenting. Memories of past birthdays flashed in my mind. Balloons, laughter, homemade cakes, little hands pressing sticky fingers into frosting while I laughed uncontrollably. And now, nothing. I sank into my favorite chair by the window, watching the street outside. Children rushed past on bicycles, neighbors greeted each other cheerfully, dogs barked in the distance. Life continued, vibrant and full, while I sat in silence, imagining that my day would vanish unnoticed. I busied myself with chores, though nothing seemed to hold my attention. I folded laundry mechanically, organized kitchen drawers, and polished the silverware. Every tick of the clock amplified my unease, each second a reminder that perhaps my family had moved on without me. Mid-morning arrived and still nothing. I walked to the mirror in the hallway, adjusting my blouse and brushing my hair. Even in the mirror, I could see the worry etched into my features. My eyes, once bright and lively, seemed dulled by the creeping fear of being forgotten. A small sigh escaped my lips, and I whispered, "Maybe birthdays aren't for me anymore." By noon, I had wandered through almost every room in the house, My eyes kept drifting to the phone, my hand twitching to pick it up, hoping against hope that a message might have come. I remembered past birthdays vividly, the tiny hands of my grandchildren painting cards with clumsy strokes of color, the scent of chocolate cake filling the air, the smiles of my children as we laughed around the table. All of it felt distant now, almost like a dream I couldn't quite reach. I tried to distract myself by making lunch, chopping vegetables with the precision that barely masked my shaking hands. I hummed a tune softly, but the melody was hollow. Every sound in the house seemed amplified: the ticking of the clock, the hum of the refrigerator, the soft rustle of the curtains as the breeze passed through. Why didn't anyone call? The thought gnawed at me. Have I been too strict, too busy, too serious? Did I drive them away somehow? I sank onto the sofa, clutching a cushion as though it could provide comfort. My gaze drifted out the window again. Children played in the park across the street, neighbors greeted each other, and I imagined all the joy I was missing. The world moved on, vibrant and alive, while I sat, almost invisible, in my quiet home. Just as I was beginning to resign myself to another quiet birthday, a faint sound echoed from the street below, a car horn, muffled and distant. I froze, straining my ears. Could it be them? My heart gave a small, hesitant flutter. I walked to the window, peering out. A familiar car turned the corner slowly. My son's voice called out from the driveway. "Mom, are you home?" Relief and disbelief collided in my chest. I rushed downstairs, my coral blouse catching the sunlight, making me feel alive in a way I hadn't all day. There they were, my children, holding flowers, balloons, and gift-wrapped packages. Even my grandchildren ran up the path, laughter bubbling over as they waved their tiny hands. My eyes welled up. You remembered?" I whispered, my voice breaking. "We never forget, Mom," my daughter said softly, her eyes glistening. "We just wanted to surprise you." The sudden swell of joy in my chest was almost overwhelming. Tears blurred my vision as I watched them carefully arrange the gifts and decorations around the living room. My children had spent hours preparing everything, planning every detail to make sure I had a birthday I'd never forget. I followed them into the living room, my steps tentative, my mind still trying to comprehend the sudden transformation of the day. The room was vibrant, with colorful balloons floating near the ceiling and a banner reading "Happy Birthday, Mom" stretching across the wall. The cake sat in the center of the table, its frosting meticulously decorated, the candles untouched, waiting for me. My grandchildren rushed forward, wrapping me in tiny arms, their laughter filling every corner of the room. "Grandma, we made this for you," they cried in unison. I could hardly catch my breath as I knelt to hug them all. My son handed me a neatly wrapped gift, and I carefully untied the ribbon, revealing a delicate locket inside. My heart ached at the thoughtfulness, the memories they wanted me to carry close to my heart, a symbol of love that transcended time and distance. As I glanced around the room, I realized they had gone to every effort to hide their planning. I had genuinely believed they had forgotten, and the impact of this revelation struck me with staggering force. The morning's anxiety, the fear of being overlooked, melted away under the warmth of their love. We spent the afternoon in a blur of laughter, stories, and memories. My children shared tales from their childhood. My grandchildren proudly showcased drawings and handmade cards, and I felt myself overwhelmed with gratitude. I noticed small details: the way my daughter had baked the cake from scratch, the way my son had hidden the presents under the couch, the subtle touches that spoke volumes of the love they carried for me. Each gesture, though small, was a piece of a larger tapestry, weaving a story of care and dedication that I had almost forgotten in my own doubt. We played games, shared snacks, and took photos. My phone, once the source of frustration, now buzzed with notifications of shared images and videos from family friends who had joined the surprise. The house was alive with energy, a stark contrast to the quiet despair of the morning. Sitting back in my chair, I allowed myself a moment of reflection. The fear of being forgotten had nearly overshadowed the deep, unwavering love that surrounded me. I realized then that love often manifests not in predictable ways, but in moments of thoughtfulness and effort, quiet but powerful. As the laughter subsided for a moment, I noticed an envelope lying inconspicuously on the coffee table. It was handwritten in my son's familiar script, sealed with care. Curiosity piqued, I picked it up, feeling the weight of anticipation. "Open it, Mom," my daughter urged, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I broke the seal and carefully unfolded the note. Words danced across the page, each sentence meticulously chosen. My son had written a letter recounting shared memories, little anecdotes from my life, and even humorous stories from my grandchildren that I had forgotten. Every word resonated with warmth and thoughtfulness. Tears prickled at my eyes as I read aloud. "You remember all of this?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Of course," my son said, smiling. "Every memory is precious because it's part of you and us." It struck me how much effort they had put into this day. Not only had they orchestrated a surprise, but they had also spent hours revisiting memories, ensuring that each detail reminded me of our bond. The thoughtfulness was overwhelming. I realized that sometimes love isn't loud or obvious. It can be quiet, intimate, and deeply personal. My grandchildren leaned against me, their small hands clutching mine. I wrapped my arms around them, feeling a warmth that I had almost convinced myself I would never feel again. After the initial excitement, I found a quiet corner by the window, cradling a cup of tea as I reflected on the day. The morning's anxiety and despair seemed like a distant memory now, replaced by a profound sense of gratitude. I thought about how easily doubt had crept into my heart, how fragile the human need for acknowledgement could be. I realized that I had underestimated my family's love, letting my imagination create scenarios far worse than reality. The children noticed my quiet moment and joined me, each sitting with a gentle presence. We spoke softly, sharing dreams, plans, and worries. My daughter confided in me about her struggles at work. My son told me about challenges with his team, and the grandchildren excitedly shared tales of school and friends. Each story revealed their humanity, their vulnerabilities, and their love. It was in these intimate moments, away from the laughter and games, that I understood the depth of connection we shared. Life was not about grand gestures alone. It was also about being present, listening, and understanding each other. As the afternoon sunlight poured into the room, I felt an unexpected surge of energy and contentment. The anxiety I had felt in the morning had dissipated completely, replaced by a sense of belonging and love that was both grounding and uplifting. Just as I began to relax, there was a sudden knock at the door. My eldest son's eyes widened in surprise. "That must be Auntie Rena," he exclaimed. I opened the door to find my sister-in-law standing there, holding a beautifully wrapped box. "Happy birthday," she said warmly. I invited her in, and she explained that she had secretly coordinated with my children to add a final surprise. Inside the box was a scrapbook filled with photos, letters, and mementos from decades of birthdays, vacations, and family gatherings. Each page was a snapshot of memories, capturing laughter, milestones, and everyday moments that now seemed more precious than ever. As I flipped through the pages, I felt a wave of emotion. Each photograph reminded me of the love, support, and presence of my family over the years. The scrapbook was more than a gift. It was a testament to a lifetime of connection, a tangible symbol of enduring love. My children and grandchildren gathered around, eager to hear me read aloud the stories behind the photos. Laughter and tears blended seamlessly, creating an atmosphere of joy and nostalgia. I felt truly seen, truly valued, and profoundly loved. By the end of the afternoon, I realized that my earlier fears of being forgotten had been entirely misplaced. The elaborate surprise, the thoughtful gestures, and the heartfelt letters all spoke of a love that was constant, patient, and unwavering. The evening settled softly over the house, casting warm, golden light through the windows. Shadows danced along the walls as the last remnants of sunlight faded. I sat in my favorite chair, the scrapbook resting in my lap, my heart full, yet a quiet thought lingered in my mind. Despite the surprises, the laughter, and the love, I had almost let doubt and loneliness define my day. My eldest son noticed my pensive expression. "Mom?" he asked gently, kneeling beside me. I looked up at him, my eyes glistening. I almost believed I was forgotten, that I was invisible in your lives, I admitted, my voice soft. All day I carried that fear with me until I saw what you all had planned. He smiled, placing his hand over mine. "Mom, you've never been invisible. Sometimes we don't always communicate perfectly, but our love is constant. Even if we can't always say it, it's always there." I nodded, tears slipping down my cheeks. I know that now, but it made me realize how much I need to cherish these moments, not take them for granted. The night deepened, the house now quiet except for soft murmurs and the occasional giggle from tired grandchildren. My children and I sat together holding cups of tea, recounting the events of the day. Every smile, every hug, every thoughtful gesture now seemed magnified in significance, as if the universe itself had conspired to remind me of my blessings. I glanced around at the people I loved most. Their eyes sparkled, their faces alight with affection, and I felt a profound gratitude settling my chest. I realized that birthdays were more than just markers of age. They were reminders of connection, continuity, and the beauty of shared moments. "Mom," my eldest son said, breaking the comfortable silence, "we want you to know that you are the heart of this family. Everything we do, every choice we make, is influenced by the love and guidance you've given us." I felt tears prickle once more, but this time they were tears of joy, of relief, of overwhelming contentment. I never want to forget that. I never want to forget how lucky I am to have all of you. The grandchildren, now curled up on the couch with blankets, yawned and murmured sleepy goodnights. One by one, my children helped them settle in, their gentle actions echoing the care and love that had defined the day. As the house grew quieter, I found myself reflecting on the lessons I had learned. Life was unpredictable, full of fears, doubts, and uncertainties, but it was also full of unexpected joy, love, and moments of connection that made every challenge worthwhile. The morning's anxieties seemed like a distant memory, almost surreal compared to the warmth and love that had filled the day. I sank into my chair once more, the scrapbook and letters resting nearby, the soft glow of the lanterns still visible through the windows. I felt a sense of peace that I had not experienced in years. The fear of being forgotten had been transformed into the assurance of being cherished. Before closing my eyes for the night, I whispered a silent promise to cherish every moment, to embrace the love around me, and to never let doubt overshadow the joy of connection. Life was fleeting, yes, but the presence of family, the laughter, the shared memories, and the enduring love of those closest to me were gifts far greater than any material possession. And in that quiet, serene moment, I finally understood the true meaning of being celebrated, not just on birthdays, but every single day of life.